Hey there, welcome back to the Savvy Painter podcast. I am your host, Antrice Wood, and we are continuing our series on the Create Spiral, which is a growth path for artists. It's a way of understanding your creative process that accounts for the real emotions, cycles, and struggles that we face as artists. So, this is something that I have been developing behind the scenes, and I am using the word create as an acronym. So, we have curiosity, resistance, exploration, alignment, trust, and expansion. So, that makes this a 6-part series, and this is number 4 out of 6. If you haven't heard the other episodes, that's okay. You can go back and listen to them later. They are not dependent on each other. This is a spiral that I have been thinking a lot about lately, and it's something that I think we enter in and out of all the time, but I kind of wanted to put it into sort of like a framework so that it'd be easier for you to see and to recognize when you are in different phases of this. So today we're going to talk about a phase that I think often surprises people, and that is alignment. This is when things start to click. It's when your process is starting to feel really steady. You're not second guessing every move. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you're feeling like yourself in the studio. But at the same time, it feels a little bit off. So let's talk about it. Alignment, I think, is what happens when all of the experimenting, the resistance, and wondering finally begins to settle. You're making work that feels, well, aligned. You're not chasing every shiny idea or questioning every single brushstroke. Your voice is showing up with more clarity, and on the surface, it's a beautiful thing. And yet, so many artists feel oddly unsettled here. So I hear things like, I feel like I should be doing more. I'm not struggling. Is that a bad sign? What if I can't keep this up? What if it's a fluke? And that unease is real and surprisingly common. Here's why. Alignment is quiet, and sometimes that quiet feels eerie. It's like this eerie silence that we are not used to, especially if you're used to being on edge, constantly trying to prove something either to yourself or to other people. When things start to align, that calm and peaceful silence can feel suspicious. It's like, am I in the calm before the storm? What is going on here? I'm used to feeling kind of low-key anxious all the time. I'm used to feeling this sort of underlying buzz that's not necessarily a comfortable thing. And now it feels just so quiet. But if you're so used to feeling that all the time, it's weird. So this isn't the calm before the storm. That quiet is because all of those voices that had been whispering or gabbing, yelling, and sometimes screaming, they all just quieted down. Some of them may have even shut up, which thank God, right? Many of them just got up and left. So what you're hearing now finally is your own voice. And you yourself have never had access to the mic before, or if you did, it was a very uneasy experience. So this can feel a little bit uncertain. And maybe the voice feels a little shaky, a little timid. But trust me, it most definitely, or I should say, you most definitely have something to say. And you've been waiting a long, long time to be able to say it. But after years, sometimes, I don't know, speaking for myself, decades of being the shy one in the corner or having been told to stay quiet, not be too weird, not be too loud, not be too you, it feels a little weird and it can be intimidating. So in this stage, if you're feeling that way, if you're feeling on the one hand, it's like, oh, I'm making work that really feels like me. And yet, and there's a part of you that's just like, Oh, thank God. There's a part of you that's just like, oh, this feels so good to finally be making work that just feels like me, right? And also, there's a part that's just like scared, point blank, just scared. So, this is the part where we need to be gentle with ourselves. What's actually clicking into place is this: you understand your own painting process. So you may have gone through those steps that we mentioned before about being, and again, like if you haven't listened to them, it's okay. I'll quickly explain them and you can go back and listen to it later if this is resonating with you. But as you understand your own painting process, like your own curiosity, the things that you are interested in and fascinated by, the things that you are interested and fascinated by, not the things that you think you should be, or that, check another box that's not your own. You have a better sense of how your mind works, right? You've been paying attention to how you think when you're painting. You've been paying attention to what you actually like. Again, it's that sort of discernment that we don't often get to do, or we push aside because we think that there's another way that's better and that we don't know enough, or that we're not really artists, or that, somebody outside of us knows better, is typically the overarching feeling. So now, in this place of alignment, you have a really good sense of how your mind works, an inkling of it, right? At least you're curious, not judgmental about your own work. You recognize resistance when it shows up, but you don't make it mean something's wrong, at least not all of the time, right? So again, it's not about perfection. It's just about noticing these things and noticing when they show up in your studio. You're still going to feel some discomfort. And the reason is because I hate to break it to you. And I always laugh when I say this because it just like sometimes I say things, I'm like, oh my God, this is so Captain Obvious. But you still feel discomfort. You still feel uneasy sometimes because you're still human. And humans are going to feel discomfort, and humans are going to feel unease, and all the emotions. We feel them all the time. So we're never, ever, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We're never going to escape them. But you deal with them differently. You're not layering judgment on top of it anymore. You're not spiraling downward when it gets hard. You're able to notice what's going on and sort of catch yourself. And when all of that added chaos falls away, the added chaos of judging your own emotions, judging yourself for feeling uncomfortable in your own studio doing the thing that you love the most, when all of that falls away, there is this beautiful, glorious space. And it's quiet. And that quietness sometimes just, when you're not used to it, it just feels weird. That peaceful gap, that weird sense of ease is new. And yeah, it can feel disorienting at first. But that space is where your voice lives. And now that all of that noise and chaos has died down, you can actually hear it. So the thing is, the reason why this feels so weird at first is because we have been taught that growth equals struggle. That old cliche, no pain, no gain, and that if this were easy, then everybody would be doing it. Like there's all of these ways, all of these sayings, all these beliefs that we have really internalized, that we have to be struggling all of the time, otherwise we're not growing. So when things calm down, we assume that something's wrong. When things feel easy, we think that it's not right, that there must be something I'm not seeing, and that if somebody else sees this, everybody else is going to know that they're going to see the thing that I can't see, right? There's like, our brain is just so beautiful in so many ways. It gives us all this creativity. It gives us all of this beautiful way of seeing the world and this incredible imagination. And it also gives us all of these thoughts that really aren't helpful, like everything that I just mentioned. So this alignment, this integration, it is growth. It just looks and feels different from what you're used to. The beautiful thing about this phase of alignment is that it also brings a rhythm instead of urgency. So instead of this constant feeling like you got to get things done and you're behind and all of that, you just settle into a rhythm and you have clarity without all the drama. There's a stillness that happens in your studio and in your work and in your mind that doesn't need to be fixed. It's just there. And then you have paintings that sometimes just feel too easy. A lot of people at this place, they start to wonder, is this a plateau? Did I lose my edge? And my answer is no, it is not a plateau, and you did not lose your edge. This is what it feels like when you're no longer working against yourself. This is a sign of healing. So, what happens in your studio, what changes from the outside, your painting sessions might not look that different. If there was a fly on the wall and they saw you in your studio, they would still see you doing some of your very rhythmic routine things. They would still see you walking in, looking around, cleaning up your brushes maybe, arranging things, standing in front of the easel, looking at that painting that you've been working on, or pulling out a new canvas. And, the actions that you take may not, from that fly on the wall, look incredibly different, but the energy in that studio is completely new because now you're working with intention. Now you're thinking about how you want to execute an idea, not how you should. Oh my God, that's such a relief, isn't it? It's how you want to execute an idea. And when you're not used to taking action on what you want, when there's so much going on in the back of your mind about, is this right? Should I do this? Can I do this? Will people like it? Is this okay? All of those things that we often have. And it's simply a question of, is this what I want? And sometimes that's a question. Is this what I like? Does this connect with me? Does this look good to me? When you're in this stage and you're in that alignment phase, when these things are starting to click and come together, that question is exciting. It's like you're coming in. I like to think of it as like I'm in Italy. I'm going to get gelato, and I just look at all of these beautiful colors and all of these. I'm a gelato fan, in case you're not connecting that. All of these beautiful, gorgeous, creamy, delicious little treats, and you're wondering, like, which one am I going to try today? Which one do I think I will like today, right? So it's like that sense of like, oh, this is going to be so good. Almost doesn't matter what I pick. It's going to be amazing, right? And you're working with intention, meaning parts of it is going to be that of like, ooh, what am I going to work on today, right? And the intention that you're working with is, if you're continuing on in a painting, you often have a clear concept of, I'm going to do that. I'm going to finish this painting, or I'm going to work on this part of this bigger painting. And it's excitement because it's this open, curious question of, is this the painting I want to make? You're thinking about how you want to execute this idea that you have, not how you should. So you're so much more deliberate. You're curious. You're relaxed and at ease. You're not hoarding ideas or panicking that they'll run out. You're just excited about what's on your easel right now. And a lot of that comes from a change, I think, in the internal monologue when you're in alignment, because the internal monologue when you're in alignment is more like, ooh, wow, this is what I like. Or, ooh, what happens if I try this? And sometimes it's like, not quite, let's shift it just a little bit. Let's just adjust this, move it, and then see what happens there. See how that is just filled with exploration and it's not self-critical like you had been. You might notice things that just feel different, but you can't put your finger exactly on why. And that's because in this stage, and this is the thing that I think is most interesting about it, it's not that anything has been added to your practice. It's more like things have just fallen away. And the volume of all those cranky, nattery, bitchy voices that were in your head, the volume has been turned way, way down. It's so beautiful. So here's what you can do in this phase. If this is where you are right now, lean into it. Don't rush past it. Don't assume that the calm means that you're missing something. You can just celebrate it. Seriously. Like, this is a major, major milestone. You might want to pull out your last few pieces and look at them side by side and start to notice what they have in common. What are the things that keep showing up again and again? As you're in this phase, as you're in this, you'll likely have a stronger idea of really, truly, what do I like about my own paintings? And I think it's really important to, with that view in mind, with that internal dialogue happening, with that clarity of your own voice, to pull out your own paintings and to look at them again and look for the threads, look for patterns. Okay. Again, this is the big change. You're looking for patterns. You're not looking for problems like you used to do. And if a part of you is craving chaos again, it's not regression, it's momentum. Because that's another thing, is now you might, after having been in this alignment phase again, you might feel like, okay, I'm ready to level up. I'm ready to step out of my little cave that maybe before I'd been hiding in, and I'm ready to try a new risk. Some of you, it might just be like the littlest baby step, right? So if you imagine yourself just stepping outside, it might be just like 1 foot out the door. But sometimes that 1 foot out the door, that tiniest of movements, is a big step for you. Okay, really depends on how you're doing and what's going on in your nervous system. And then there might be others of you, or the same you, but on a different day, where you're ready to kind of like leap out that front door and take some big, bold moves. And something to be aware of, to be cognizant of, is that, this is a spiral. So it's not a straight line, which means that you'll be moving through all of these moments that we're describing here over and over and over again. And you can just imagine this upward spiral that happens. And I think of this on a macro level, and I think of it on a micro level. And what I mean by that is, sometimes on a macro level, I might be in the alignment phase for like a season, for like a few months, right? But at the same time, I might also go through all of those other stages on a daily basis. It's just a very short time period. It's a very short movement through it, but we're always kind of spiraling through it. And all of those little spirals are just pulling us up. So this is the space where your voice gets stronger. It gets bolder, it gets more courageous, because there's finally room for it to breathe. And in the past, we hadn't always given ourselves that room to breathe. We hadn't always allowed that voice airtime. It had been drowned out by all of these other ideas from other people, all of these other stories that we've collected maybe along the way. And now you kind of realize that a lot of those stories just don't work anymore, and you can just let them go. And so this alignment phase, I think another way to put it is, it's where you start to integrate you, and you start to write your own stories, and your voice becomes the loudest in the room, for lack of a better term, or it becomes the most strongest, the one that you pay attention to and that you hear the most. And it's such a beautiful thing. So if you're in this phase, super excited for you, because it's fun. It's just such a relief, I think. I laugh because we're talking about all of this, of course, in Growth Studio. And in our Growth Studio calls, we meet like 3 times a week. And every single call at the beginning, I ask everybody to share their wins, to share something that they're proud of or that's going on. And they laugh at me because I get ridiculously excited. Like, sometimes I have to cover my mouth to prevent myself from squealing as somebody's saying something about what they realized. And, like the wins that they share, sometimes it's just like, hey, I caught myself before I started to criticize myself. Right. And that is huge. And I say that a lot. I'm like, oh my God, it's huge. But it really truly is. And then sometimes it's a more external win, like I wrote the email to that gallery, or that gallery called back and now we're having a conversation, or I just raised my prices, or I just sold a painting. Or it can be a very quiet internal personal win, like I heard my own voice and I knew it was me. And it's such a beautiful thing, you guys. I just get so excited. So, anyway, we spent a lot of time working on things like this. And so I really wanted to create this sort of framework that I'm sharing with everybody, because I think it's going to be really helpful for all of you to be aware of this and to start to notice when it appears in your own studio. But this is something that I just feel so excited about, and so strongly that anytime that I can help artists fine tune their voice, to strengthen their process, to build that creative momentum that doesn't rely on pressure or panic or these like external ideals, deadlines, things like this, then I just get stupid excited. So anyway, if you're in that, like, it's working, but it feels weird phase, this is where you are, the alignment phase. And it's so fun. So you're not stuck. I want you to know that even if it feels weird, you're not stuck. You're just integrating. And you don't have to figure this out alone. If you have other artists, you can if you have other artists that are nearby to talk with about, I think that's a really great thing, is to start to articulate what's happening, somebody that you know and you trust. And if you want a group that you can do that with, I'm totally biased here, but I think Growth Studio is the best. And it's just getting better all the time. It's such an amazing group of artists, and it's so much fun. It's like the highlight of my week when I get to jump on a call with some of my favorite artists. So next week, we are going to talk about the next phase in this create spiral. And the next phase is trust. So we're going to talk about how it can feel strangely, just a little bit vulnerable to finally believe in yourself. But oh my gosh, when you get to that place, when you have those moments where you have your own back, and you see all the places where it really changes your life, just so exciting. Anyway, thanks for listening. That's what I have for you today. Have an amazing, fabulous week, and I will talk to you soon.